Let's review where we've come in the Emotionally Healthy Relationships course. In session 1, we began with the community temperature reading, our beginner skill. In session 2, we did stop mind reading and clarify expectations. Then in session 3, we did genogram your family. Our fourth was explore the iceberg, and our last session was listen incarnationally. This session builds on the previous skills and is more challenging. We call this climb the ladder of integrity. This is used when something is bothering you, when you have been experiencing tension with someone or a situation. You find yourself perhaps angry or frustrated, bothered, or hurt. Oftentimes it has to do with the fact that something important to you, something you value, is being violated. Let's review the purpose of the ladder of integrity. It is to clarify your values by processing your thoughts and feelings, and if necessary, to assert yourself respectfully.
Here are some examples. Every time you're out to dinner with your friend, they take phone calls. It's getting to you, but you're not sure whether you have a right to say something. You have a family member that tells racist jokes. It really bothers you, but you don't know how to address it. You call your friend, but they never call you. Why does this aggravate you so much? A coworker continually talks negatively about another coworker, and you have this growing uneasiness about it. Your friend consistently takes needless risks when driving, and you have conflicting feelings about it. You're on edge every time you call home because there's something about the way your mother or father talk to you that disturbs you. You are becoming more conscious that you don't like watching movies that your spouse picks that have inappropriate or unnecessary sex or violence in them. Climb the ladder of integrity is meant to help you get honest and clear about what's going on inside of you and to discover your values and how for you they are being violated. Once you identify why something is important to you, then you can take responsibility for it. This, of course, involves slowing down for reflection, and that's what the ladder of integrity is all about. It's meant to help you respond respectfully based on your values rather than merely being reactive. In other words, it enables you to live with integrity. What I mean by that is, what is important to you on the inside is congruent with what you are living on the outside. Let's go back to those earlier examples. Every time you're out to dinner with your friend, they take phone calls. So instead of getting frustrated and saying nothing in an effort to be nice, or something sarcastic like, "Oh, nice of you to join me again," you climb the ladder and get in touch with your value of having a relationship where you can give each other your full attention. You have a family member that tells racist jokes. It really bothers you, but you don't know how to address it. So instead of avoiding them or saying something like, "What is your problem?" you climb the ladder and you get clear about your value for the dignity of all people. You call your friend, but your friend never calls you. Instead of deciding, "I'm not going to call them anymore," you climb the ladder and get clear on how you value mutual initiative in this particular friendship. You are on edge every time you call home because there's something about the way your mother or father interact with you that you find disturbing. So instead of making excuses of why you can't visit them, you climb the ladder and realize that when your mother or father speak to you, your own sense of value and dignity feels diminished. You prefer they speak to you clearly and respectfully. So you take the time to prepare to have a conversation with them. I've learned that in order to have a healthy relationship with myself and others, I need to know my values. I need to be congruent between what I value and what I am living. Climbing the ladder of integrity helps us move towards this healthy integration. A lot of us don't realize how much depression and anxiety can stem from living out of fear of expressing ourselves. Unfortunately, most of us have not been taught how to discover and uncover our values. The reason the ladder of integrity is so important is because Scripture tells us we are each uniquely created in the image of God with distinct preferences, hopes, dreams, and values. No one else can live your life and express your values except you.
So climbing the ladder of integrity may sometimes involve moral issues of right and wrong. Other times it may involve gray areas or personal preferences. For example, in Galatians 2, Paul's integrity caused him to confront Peter about his hypocrisy by refusing to eat with the Gentiles in the church at Antioch. It may be a moral issue, such as pornography, abuse of anger, or stealing. Other times, when we are talking about integrity, we are talking about what Romans 14 calls gray issues. Gray issues refer to things that are not necessarily right or wrong. We may differ on the kinds of movies we watch, tattoos, how far above the speed limit we go. Paul writes in Romans 14, some consider one day more sacred than another, others consider every day alike. Everyone should be fully convinced in their own mind. Remember, the ladder of integrity is not a conflict resolution skill. Fight cleanly, the next skill will be used for that. The purpose of this skill is for you to clarify what is going on inside of you so you can identify your values and then, if appropriate, respectfully assert them rather than react or blame others. Note the progression of the ladder in your workbook. Notice we begin at the bottom and we go up. Numbers 1 to 6 have to do with what's going on inside of me. And so you're going to see now sentence stems that you'll be asked to complete. Number 1, right now the issue on my mind is. 2, I'm anxious in talking about this because. 3, my part in this is. 4, my need in this issue is. 5, my feelings about this are. 6, what my reaction tells me about me is. Then it moves to what I value in numbers 7 to 10. 7, this issue is important to me because I value, and I violate this value when. You'll notice a star next to this because this is the heart of what you are trying to get at in the ladder. 8, I am willing/not willing to. 9, one thing I could do to improve the situation is. And 10, the most important thing I want you to know is. Then finally, the last 2 sentence stems deal with what I hope. 11 reads, I think my honest sharing will benefit our relationship by. And 12, I hope and look forward to. Now we've included 2 additional examples of the ladder in the appendix. This will give you ideas of how others have completed the sentence stems, which I think will be useful for you when you write out your own ladder of integrity. For now, we are going to show you a model of someone using the ladder of integrity. His name is Phil. But first, I need to give you some background around the issue. It has a number of details, so stay with me as I explain them. Phil was on staff at New Life Fellowship. He was in charge of the baptisms at each of our 3 Easter Sunday services. Mirna, another staff, was responsible for scheduling the people getting baptized at each of the services. It had been a busy weekend already with Good Friday services. It's now Saturday morning. Phil gets a text message from his supervisor, Rich. Rich had run into Emily, a 17-year-old girl, at our Good Friday service. She was all excited because she was getting baptized on Easter Sunday, and her family, who didn't attend our church, was coming to watch. Rich looked at the baptismal list and realized Emily's name was not on it. So he texts Phil and says, follow up on this situation. Emily's coming to get baptized. Saturday is Phil's Sabbath, and he's with his wife. And what was supposed to take 5 minutes ends up costing him 5 hours. It gets resolved, she gets baptized, but he is frustrated by the experience. Now Mirna, who was responsible for getting the name straight for the baptism, missed Emily's name. So on Easter Sunday, Mirna says to Phil, I'm really sorry for what happened. Phil then says, it was not a big deal, it's okay. When Phil told me this, it was obvious that it really did bother him. So I suggested he use the ladder of integrity. So we worked with him on this. Now you're going to watch Phil practice with me going up the ladder. Notice that he will process his thoughts and feelings with someone neutral, not the person with whom he has the issue. In this case, I will be the neutral person, and I will listen without interrupting or asking questions. Also notice that Phil will start at the bottom and go up the ladder. After that, we will bring in Mirna so he can speak to her directly. After you watch him model it, turn off the video and follow the instructions in your workbook.
Hey Pete, would you mind if I could practice the ladder of integrity with you, just so I can get all the blame out?
Sure.
So So right now, the issue on my mind is my lack of honesty about how your scheduling mistake impacted me around Easter Sunday. When you came and apologized, I told you it was no big deal, when in reality, it was a big deal. I'm anxious about this because in my Indian culture, it's an unspoken expectation that a younger person never raise an issue with someone that is older or a more experienced staff person when they make a mistake. We are to keep it to ourselves, but this eventually damages relationships, churches, and families. I'm also a people pleaser, and I really want you to like me. So I was afraid that you could be offended and create some distance between us. So my part in this is that I wasn't honest with you, and I lied. And my need in this is to acknowledge that I was dishonest with you. My need is also to practice speaking truthfully with another person, or an elder, or someone that's more experienced on staff. So my feelings about this are many. I was disappointed in myself, and I was a bit devastated when I realized that I had lied to you. To tell you that it was no big deal was the furthest thing from the truth. See, it was my Sabbath, and it was something that my soul desperately needed between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. So it was the one day of the week that Debbie and I get to spend together and share our Sabbath. And it also happened to be the weekend of our 1-year wedding anniversary. What I thought was going to take about 5 minutes to fix took about 5 hours. So to try to make most of the day, we went to the mall, and I ended up making phone calls from the car while Debbie went shopping. Now, shopping is a joy for Debbie, but it created this anxiety in me because I was nervous that she was going to spend way too much money at the mall. So as I was doing this, she went and shopped, and I was spending time trying to fix this in the car. So as you can see, I went through so many emotions on this day. Having my Sabbath and my anniversary impacted, and then realizing that I lied to you on that Sunday really disturbed me. What my reaction teaches me about me is how deep my family of origin and my Indian culture avoid having difficult conversations, and that lives inside of me. And it was easy for me to be dishonest with you. And this really grieves me deeply. This issue is important to me because I value truthfulness and having integrity within myself. And when I don't speak honestly, I violate my own integrity. This is very disturbing to me because I want to be a person who is authentic, that you can see on the outside, and I am the same person on the inside. I'm not willing to continue this pattern of dishonesty. One thing I can do to improve the situation is by taking time to get clearer with myself, and also take opportunities like this one to engage in a vulnerable and humbling conversation. So the most important thing I want you to know is that I respect you, and I value your work as an awesome executive. I want you to know how difficult this is for me because of my history and family and culture. I think my honest sharing will benefit our relationship because it will build this greater trust between us. You will know I can be honest with you, and I will not be holding on to anything internally. I hope and look forward to more opportunities in our working relationship, and also an opportunity for us to be a sign of the kingdom to our community. And I hope you feel free to come to me as well.
Phil, that's great. So now you can obviously do a lot of integrity just for yourself, but sometimes you want to go talk to the person. Would you like that we bring Myrna in and you speak to her?
I think I need to speak to Myrna.
Okay, great. Thanks, Phil.
Hey, Myrna.
Hi.
I just want to thank you for just taking this time for allowing me to share something very important to you.
Yes, of course.
And it has to do with the scheduling mistake on Easter Sunday. Now, I really appreciate that you apologized to me the next day.
Okay.
But the reality is, when you came to me and I said it was no big deal, that's the most important part here. I lied to you.
Wow.
What I thought was going to take about 5 minutes to fix, in reality took 5 hours. And it happened to be the one day of the week that Debbie and I get to share a Sabbath. It also happened to be the weekend of our one-year wedding anniversary. So the day was all thrown off. Now, my purpose in telling you all this now is I want to acknowledge that I was dishonest with you. And I'm very surprised because I brushed it off like it was nothing. What grieved me and scared me was that I so easily lied to you. So as I reflected on all this, I realized that it is deep within my Indian culture and my family of origin to avoid having difficult conversations. So I really want to ask for your forgiveness, Myrna, for not being honest with you and lying to you and pretending like everything was okay. By God's grace, I am totally committed to working on this area of my life. See, I respect you and I value your work as an awesome executive.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping this is an opportunity that will just build greater trust between us and also an opportunity for us to be a sign of the kingdom to our community. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to share this with you.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you for sharing. And yes, I forgive you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm very, very sorry. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.